Podrás hacer todas las preguntas. Todas las preguntas. Interrogar si quieres a los astros que fulguran frente a tu mirada desorbitada. Y no será suficiente. No será suficiente para salvarte de la casa en llamas. Yo pudiera avisarte que el techo arde, decirte tal vez el fuego prendió las cortinas, humo reoscurece las sombras oscilantes de la quimera y tu sillón crepita en el andén. ¿Para qué serviría? ¿Para qué? Si no alertas a la desolación de tu alma y ridículamente feliz mantienes la calma absurda de sonrisas mañaneras, café y tostadas, un chin de mantequilla, besitos y cancioncillas románticas apretados contra un cuerpo que no será sino combustible del infierno que has fraguado, del cual rehusas marcharte, como si ya no fuera tan tarde. La casa en llamas no existiese y peliagudas legiones de chispas tridenticias no atizaran tu frágil carne a cada paso que das en círculos. Locos círculos, locos círculos, locos círculos, mientras preguntas. Y más, preguntas qué ocurre afuera. Hay un árbol con fruta, otra música, otra amante. Hay un poco de lluvia, restos de rocío, algún consuelo. Entonces ni yo, ni los astros que fulguran frente a tu mirada desorbitada, tenemos nada que decirte.
I am the madman on the train, the one who drinks special brew from the can and wants to share his last drop with you. Tells you how his wife saved his life and the history of his land, wants to hold your hand, urging you to press your mobile phone against the carriage window at crucial moments to document its magnificence. I am the madman on the train, the one who told you that beauty will save the world and it will start with loving someone. I am the madman on the train who for 15 minutes was your strangest friend and bared his soul, and in doing so, allowed your vision to clean away the spirits of the demons who, fed by fear, oppressed him all the office long. I am the madman on the train. And if you see me in the supermarket singing to myself, then hug me and be freed.
Aguacero de incertidumbre y martirio coronado. Tal vez gotas de silencio a través del silencio. ¿No quieres seguir conmigo? ¿No? ¿Quieres seguir conmigo? Preguntas y es una súplica. Un llanto de nubes rotas cayendo sobre la palangana verde en el baño azul. No hay respuesta. Él no sabe que le hablas. Aún queda mucho por ensuciar. El tiempo del escombro aguarda, amenazando tu sonrisa. Hace un tiempo ya que te separaste para contemplar tus telarañas iridiscentes, alucinadas. ¿Qué hallas en ellas este día? ¿Qué feliz sueño atraparon? Ahora él duerme, boca seca y ojos que no están, perdiéndose en un rostro de piedra, niño en la noche abandonado, y tú, madre, amante, te acuestas sobre él y lo defiendes de la tristeza y lo curas del frío. Llueve dentro y llueve fuera. Llueve. ¿Y dónde la pureza? ¿Qué no habremos mancillado y permanecerá inmaculado tras algún cristal? Verde, tal vez azul, sea en tu mirada habite la última luz. Niña del sueño y sus restos que limpias, desoladas, ciegas, lavas y ahora lloras. Y limpias de nuevo, pulcro. Todo debe quedar pulcro. Restriegas el baño con el cepillo, restriegas tu cuerpo con el cepillo. Restriegas, restriegas hasta quedar estéril. Y lloras. Y lloras. Se moja el piso. Vacilas. Quisieras bailar. Bailamos la danza del primer aguacero en mí. Porque una vez fueron 48 días de amor y pinga por tu cuerpo. Pinga, que acaricia y que ama, esperma en la boca, roba en tu ombligo y no recuerdas qué más. O si también hubo acrobacia, pequeños sonidos lastimeros, gritos, desechos. Y si eran felices. Y si eran felices, porque ardía el nido y tú herviste al lado del macho más lindo que has visto en tu vida. Aquello fue entonces en la oscuridad, inmóvil, muñequita del vestido verde hasta el suelo, bordado delante, comprado una feliz tarde, o fue una fría mañana, o fue una loca noche. Gimes, tú sabes gemir, tú gimes bien, pero él, qué tipo tan feo, no te extrañó en la cama y casarse no tiene sentido, ahora te invade un olor triste, casi angustioso, reminiscente de cenizas tragadas en tiempos de otros dolores que sucederán. Maldita sea, maldita sea, esto no acaba. Y todavía recuerdas aquella pinga diciendo te amo, te amo, te amo. Y como no consideras raro el que te hable y diga esas cosas tan románticas y tiernas, logras renunciar a todo prejuicio e insólita. Abres tu boca para recibir su azufre. Cierra los ojos. Evita el espejo. Huye. El tiempo del escombro comienza. Todo es, nada es, todo es, nada es, todo es, nada es, todo. Nunca podrás llegar. Y aunque quites las telarañas con tu escoba entrenada, ellas regresan. Y las cucarachas y los ratones y las goteras y las paredes húmedas de llanto. Y el tú abrazando el muro y el muro que derrumba. Y el muro eres tú. El muro eres tú. Gota. Hay líquidos que dibujan espirales. Hay sepulturas para el esperma. Gota. Gota. Hay ausencias que delatan agonías. Hay dolores que no aquilatan. Gota. Gota. Otra gota. Hay lamentos infinitos y gotean y susurran. No quieres seguir conmigo, no, conmigo. No quieres seguir conmigo, no quieres seguir conmigo. Shh. Silencio.
Rötter, arvet. Att närma sig gör ont. Det ska göra ont. Jag är jagets mur. Eller mur. Eller mumifiering. Skägget, sminket. Din skuggas ansikte, ansiktets skugga.
And so, Mister Enajenado barrunta cualquier excusa y dale, dale, dale con la morondanga. Timba, conga, candanga. Timba, conga, candanga desmedida mientras alivio no hay sino muerte. Muerte desborda aplastante contra el maquillaje reciente del renacuajue puta, genocida, rasurando una gente desamparo asida sobre el techo al hacer y se disparan. I am not going, motherfucker. I am not going. Aquí me quedo con mis muertos del apocalipsis postmoderno. Aquí me quedo con mis muertos del apocalipsis postmoderno. Rage, you sons of bitches. Rage. Machuca el intestino delgado para luego tener que jamarse la cara del renacuajo puta diabólico. Trompo. Genocida rasurando. Trompo. Mitómano narcisista. Trompo. Clasista, fascista, racista, supremacista, xenófobo declarado, insurreccionista, trompo, criminal ostentando los letales poderes de la blanca imperial casa Allende, la Gringandia. And all the while surrounded, shamelessly enabled by evil yes men. Mitch McConnell, enjoy the minority, you hurtful devil's bitch. Malevolero líder de la recua de secuaces besaculos, muerden y lamben. Lamben y muerten el orto en la raja del trompo. Según mueren en every little dark rincón del mundo, everywhere. Countless died to the COVID. They are lost. They perish among strangers. And as they do, a soul piece of their beloved irretrievably withers alongside them. Such bottomless pain all over the US of A. Huh? And I got the wrong version of the poem in front of me, and I can't remember the rest of it. Trompo, you asshole.
The woman waits. She is 8,000 years born and has flowed through Laurentide flows. A sage and a seer, nursed 1,000 siblings of a species long since displaced. A sacrificial spouse cracked open a womb that spewed east. But migration matters no more. The stars navigate no longer. Supernovas, but moments, foretelling the arrival of a significant one, for the land to welcome home her sun-kissed litter.
¿Recuerdan ahora, mientras uno regresa a alguna grama o allí sentado, ese dulce viejo en la infancia, u otra cierta sonrisa virtuosa devuelve al amor y en ello la patria, como nostalgia o deuda en el pecho se cobija? Ya trinarán los sauces del verde su llantén contenido. Alarde o nostalgia demuestra lo fatal por ser, mas de tu amparo y falda no reliegues tierra el sueño de tus hijos, su frágil esperanza. No queda sino darse, no queda sino darse. Luego seguirán los que siguen y no falte luz, ni ausente algo de horizonte para guiar la pisada, sea trueno, despierte en la ternura, bálsamo será piedra o puñal, o huella será allí, en el bosque de Guabate abre su puerta y descúbrese. Cuánto afán y cielo y belleza dirigen tu voz hacedora fiel. Cuánta delicadeza en su pulso familiar timbre decidor. Y las piedras, yo las he visto, detenidas del monte, ladera estremecida cuya raíz avisa, Onelia, feliz cumple, Boriquén vive, pues aquí las piedras tienen eco y en ellas retañen viejas voces insoslayables para recordarnos la sangre ante un espejo. Hostos, universal e interminable. Betances, que curaba con sus manos y con su ejemplo. Don Pedro, vestido de pitirres e incólume. Y nuestros hijos, como tú también, y a tantos otros que iguales cantan, que alados se alzan, que perfectos vibran, frente al beso de la aurora, cuando atenta observa y silba, amantísima novia complacida.
Den tomma luften drejar en hand som sänder. Två toner som aldrig möts, vars åtskillnad ger upphov till en våt och mesmerisk tredje. De oföddas kranier med fontaneller som sjunger under våra fingertoppar. En svepning av sprickor slickar huden tillbaka. Tidsmarkörer glöder i kapp mot oursprunglighet.
Tis not simple. Tis not simple, yet remembered. Tis not simple, yet remembered. Such image endures and carries the faith of a few and remains in those hearts steadfast. Hold hands harder together, laughter, mirth. Be serene, open springs, beauty, be out.
The vessel now at shrunken rest, matriarchal in urban anonymity. Within a gift, a symbol veiling an epistle marks this rebirth, an installation, water sealed and hard knuckle woven, tough branches of rebellion bent and interlaced to bear safe a positive force. The power of a creative thought, consummated at this predetermined time, in this predetermined place.
¿Qué harán con las paredes? ¿Qué harán con las paredes? ¿Qué harán con las paredes? Con los versos que allí habitan, ¿qué harán? Con los puestos, impuestos, sobrepuestos, con los insepultables. ¿Qué harán de mis palabras en el horno que acaso nunca fue crisol, pero aún así su lumbre brillaba y esplendía? Habrá recompensa, habrá recompensa, habrá recompensa. Otros recogerán del verde la semilla por caer en el surco abierto al cuerpo. Su futuro, del tronco hombre astilla, será que un sueño se quema, perece, perezca, pudiese perecer. ¿Será que asisto a muerte de un sueño? ¿Será que hay muerte? Que sí, que la hay, que mueren las cosas y los sitios y las gentes. Las cosas, los sitios, las gentes, que lo que fueron se va lejos, se marcha y ausenta, muere. ¿Será que muere la memoria? ¿Acaso cesa la memoria? Cesa de ti mi recuerdo cuando retrae tu imagen frente a aurora primera, o aquella tela finísima y transparentada que te ceñía, o la sencilla promesa de tu desnudez dibujada contra el sol de Alamar. ¿Será que hay muerte? Muere en nosotros el amor, lo que del padre y la madre nos llega, fogonazo deslumbrador que transige otorgando esta divina, divina, divina humanidad. Este signo, este camino que obliga al paso. Y no es libre un poema. El otro, el mismo muro interminable que varía según los hombres y las mujeres y tropieza y se afinca imponderable, inexhausto, desamordazado corazón, desamordazado. ¿Qué harán con las paredes? Con aquellos versos. ¿Qué con tus estrellas como dardos en sus manos? Con sus manos, ¿qué harán?
Du är Jag är, där är du, där är jag. Du och jag är här. Varje droppe av text i text med text, meriterande. Även när du ingenting har att ge, når handen något.
Pienso en todos, en todas. ¿Cómo ha sido tanta agonía, duda, desierto? Ruge la primera batalla en el primer crepúsculo ensangrentado y como hoja en el viento cae gente, por la gente caen. Rojiza mal ternura ha despiado sus cuerpos y los condenó al alba desierta de los que ya no son. Terror, terror, martirio, insoportable desperdicio de quienes por amor merecieron apenas el paraíso. Apenas el paraíso. ¿Será? ¿Será? Atento, escuchas a aquel niño llorar. Todos los llantos el de aquel niño porque en la tierra no hay semilla y su madre ha olvidado el sabor de la fruta y agua queda poca y en la teta no hay leche sino mosca. Apenas el paraíso. Es que se ha perdido, se ha perdido. Algún Dios también fuera testigo entre tanto delirio de más, doquier buscan mendigos afecto urbano por carne brusca. Dame tu cariño, que algo sufre, criaturita, es un barate temor, derrama la deriva, suelta el estribo donde entre ellas desquice su parte más desolada, sea isla tomando droga, no un algo, lo que sea, pero por favor, bien fuerte, aunque sobras tú solo dame en esta hora, puta, tú por olvido fuerte, dame de la hierba una brisna, por lo que más quieras tú dame ahora un abrazo amantísimo, infantil o seco en la entrega a mí, porque no alcanzo a comprender. Chula, sonrisita, falseada con talento de puñal. Guiño aquel, desdén rudillo. Y nos duelen las máscaras con sus muecas ventoso apretadas, mientras solloza la gracia hasta el fin de la ardiente madrugada.
Okay, I'm going to ask Antonio to come back to unmute himself now, please, if he would. He can be addressed by anybody on Zoom or anybody who's in the room. I think if anybody in the room would like to ask a question, I'll bring the mic to you. So you might not be able to see the person who's asking the question, Antonio, though of course anybody who's on Zoom engaging with you, you should see them as they talk. And if it's okay, can I ask a very simple question, really? Amazing performances this evening. Many of us in the audience are not Spanish speakers. We still enjoyed the messages. We enjoyed what you were delivering to us because it is a holistic experience. But yes, in a very simple way, I'd just like to ask if you could touch on a couple of the themes or a couple of the subjects that you were addressing in the poems that you performed for us in Spanish this evening.
Okay. Thank you, Dom, first of all, for the invite. This has been most gratifying for me. Being able to share the stage with such distinguished writers and poets, it's truly an honor. And I am feeling quite blessed at the moment. So thank you all for that. As far as the themes, I do believe that there are not that many themes for a poet to address at all, We somehow go back, I feel, not just me, but most everybody goes back to the same subjects, identity, existential, mutterings, the need for being understood and cared for, love, of course, in all of its forms, but also more and more, I think that my work is focusing not on me or my musings, but on what I observe about others and the world itself. As far as the themes of tonight, well, I botched that Trump poem quite badly. I was truly amused and overjoyed to hear the shredding performance by our friend. I'm sorry, I do not recall his name at the moment, but that was just simply fantastic. Is it Steve? His name is it Steve? In any case, I don't think I recall exactly what it was that I read. You know, it's been overtaken by all that I've been listening to, but I think that La Casa en Llamas has to do with, in a way, you know, with self-awareness and being able to step out of your own comfort zone and realize that perhaps things are not as quaint and as, you know, as rosy as they may seem. And it's usually the case that most everybody knows this but oneself, right? Everybody looking from the outside in can realize, you know, you are, you know, in the deep, and yet you insist on these conducts or what may have you. And then I think I perhaps read a patriotic poem, Boriquén Vive, that is dedicated to Danny Rivera, which I'm sorry to say was not present, though he promised he would be. And it's you know, patriotism to me is quite different from chauvinism and nationalism. You know, it's just the longing for one's own, and to have a place of one's own where one can feel safe and secure and be able to, you know, take care of the people and the things that one loves. And I think I also said Tabula Rasa, which was a Cuban poem located, you know, located in one of my Cuban experiences, but it moves from that general idea and starts, you know, questioning other topics, mainly. Are we ever gone? Are we ever truly over? Does the poem stand? Is our memory enough to keep us alive? You know, is the memory of us enough to keep our soul, you know, lingering amongst the peoples, right? So that is the theme there. It also begs the question, you know, no es libre un poema. You know, is the poem not free? You know, is the poem not a free thing, right? And is it not the same poem? In my view, all of what was said today is part of one single egregor, one single idea, one single poem, which we all have been very acute on writing throughout the times, you know. And poets past, poets present, poets future, they're all engaging on the very same thing. They are just, you know, nicking away, you know, trying to grab their own piece of that one poem that we're all composing as a whole. I mean, good enough?
Yeah, that's pretty good. And your memory is not bad either, because you managed to remember some of the poems you read this evening. And talking about giving the poem freedom, I guess if you were to keep those poems in your memory, then you would have been trapping them. So it's fine for you to let them go. And I also realized that the experience that both you had and that we shared when you were performing them only existed in that moment. And I think also that's part of your process maybe. So maybe that might lead you to say something else. But in the meantime, I'm just going to check if there's anybody in the room who would like to ask a question. I'll take questions from the room first before I go to Zoom. Yep, just going to pass you over to Jane a moment.
Hi, Jane.
Hi. First of all, that was amazing. Absolutely blew me away. How do you maintain your energy levels all the way through the poems? Because it's just so, it just fizzes so much. How do you keep it going for so long?
Well, I have a garden, and I work on it, and I have 5 dogs, and I live in a 2-story building. I mean, 2-story house. So I am constantly walking up and down the stairs. I highly recommend that for stamina. But as far as your question, and being a bit more serious, perhaps, I think that, to me, the breathing, it's all in the breathing, and it's all in the gut. That's why I take my shirt off. For me, the poem is not just about the voice, it's about the full body. It's a full body expression. See, the tensions and the, whatchamacallit, and the release of this tension is part of my exercise, and I do practice it. I will tell you, it does not always comes naturally, but as I dig in and look for the very best way to say each little part of it, as I search within me, it just at one point it just boils over, and I have no other recourse but to spew it. And I try to keep steady. I sometimes fail. I was very careful not to have any whiskeys or wine glasses today, because I sometimes get lost within my own marasmo. But that said, I thank you for it. I think it's a physical thing for me. The poem is not the written word. It's not even the delivery. Or should I say, it's not even any one piece of the delivery, but rather the whole of it. You see, and that entails silence, that entails rhythm, that entails volume, that entails anger, that entails, sadness. So what I try to do is just let these emotions overflow me as I'm trying to express them, and truly grip me, so that I can, I can first of all tell myself these things, because I am my first and foremost audience. It is mostly myself I speak to. And if I don't believe it, then who could, who will? So to me, veracity is separate, and artifice is a bit different from the truth of the matter, and what I call the rapturous moment, when you are overtaken by the whole of it, and if then you can become a vessel for that, then I guess you succeed in it. I hope I answered your question, Jan.
Did you, Jane, or anybody else want to respond to those comments from Antonio? No? Okay. I'm sure that over the coming months, when we move this event back into the pub, I'm going to be inundated with participants trying to find that rapturous moment at the microphone. I look forward to it. Are there any more questions from in the room for Antonio? Yes, I'm going to pass you over to Steve.
Hi, Steve. Oh,
Hi,
dude, that was fantastic. Are you the shredder? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I don't know if you can see me.
Dude.
Yeah.
I can see that you share my admiration for that asshole. That was fantastic. That was fantastic.
You, you'll have to do one on Boris Johnson. He's our Prime Minister, who's a very similar caliber, but is more dressed in a suit and a bit more.
Well, the problem with your guy is he's a lot smarter. He's every bit the clown.
But, he's a buffoon.
But he's a brilliant buffoon.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
this other guy is mostly retarded, you know.
Yeah. My question is, since I've been doing poetry from a young age, I think I'm going down one route and then I go off on another route, like a tangent.
Yes.
I think I'll do this poem and I'll do this style, but I've realized I don't suit no style. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not quite sure. But what I do know is that I'm not just going to stick to a certain style. I find it hard to stick to a certain style. I just say what I've got to say, and I think that's the way I'm going down. So are you on a similar wavelength as that? You haven't got any style as such. It's just.
I first of all, let me say this. I do believe that you are not only on the right track, but to me, that's like the only track. You see, the poem is unknown until it is delivered. So you really don't have a clue as to what's taken over you. You know, there's something imperious within that somehow needs to push through, but you're unaware of where it's going. And it's important to not encase it, in my opinion. It's important to not encase it into any predisposed form, because you do not know whether it will fit or not. And I think that, there's no such, people who are concerned with keeping a brand, a branded style, say, are missing out big time, because when you limit yourself, when you limit your expression to a simple form or to a preconceived idea of what it should stand for, whereas you still don't know what's the correct word, what the freak you are about to say, you don't know yet. And so to me, it's important to truly allow for whatever voices are in your head to come out and say what they will, how they will, and why they will. And I think another important thing to bear in mind is when have I said what I must, and when this is something else altogether that's coming on, Okay. Because sometimes we just want to say everything within every poem. We want to just say it all. We have so much to say, and I am afraid that sometimes that does a disservice, because it becomes it becomes murky, it becomes obscure, and also it subtracts from the intensity of the original idea. So two things. No, I don't believe that styles are relevant anymore. Okay. I do believe that there could be a poem that comes through you that will be a sonnet, because that's what fits. But one must not make up their mind beforehand, because I myself most of the time, I don't even know what the heck is it that I am writing until months even later, I don't even know what this is about. So I am in the process of, trying to figure it out. And I don't think it's a good idea, to put any limits to my expression where I am just trying to make it work. I'm still trying to say the thing that is, you know, gripping me. And in that sense, and on a note on what you did today, you see, could that, what you just did, could that be categorized as anything else but your own thing? I don't think so. You know, that was your own thing. It's a true, and it's not that it's, you know, profoundly original, because what is, right? But it is not, but it is singular, and it is authentic, and it was gripping. It was truly effective, and I congratulate you. I you know, thoroughly enjoyed it, my friend.
Thank you very much. And I think I better keep the shredder then, don't I? Yeah.
I think so. I think so. There are other things worth shredding, my friend, besides that.
Oh, there's a lot of things worth shredding. Yeah, definitely. Hey, thank you, Tony. That was brilliant. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, indeed. And it's interesting, Antonio, you say you talk about what comes out, the emotion that comes out, and not being restricted. But of course, I know that your poems will be a total experience, and the poem will work. The incarnation of the poem that is the one that you love will be the one when you allowed the correct emotions to take the biggest control of you. And so one performance that you have and then another performance will all be different, and you will decide which one was the best performance. And at one point, you will decide that you've achieved the best performance. And you know that another performance later will never match up to that one.
I don't know about that, Dom, and I'll tell you why. I don't consider that I publish poems anymore. You know, I publish versions of texts, and I publish versions of, you know, of whatever it is that I do, right? And at one moment, you know, and what I can do at any given time, you know, at a given moment in time, is try to approximate myself to the truest expression of that version. However, that may change. I change. So the poem and my understanding of the poem also changes. And what I just told Steve holds true for this as well. You know, I don't really know what I write until much later sometimes, right? And I am always discovering, you know, little nuances, you know, or things that were left unsaid, or things that were said that they're not really, you know, they're not really what I mean today. It could have been what I meant then, but not now. So to me, it's not about the best performance or the best reading or the best version, but the closest approximation that I am capable of as I am delivering the thing.
Okay, I'll read closest approximation as best in English, but you know, okay.
Sorry.
I'm going to take you out of the room here now, brother, because I know there are people waiting on Zoom who would like to talk to you. So I'm going to turn this microphone off. I'm going to hand over to Mel, who's controlling Zoomland, because I know George is waiting to ask you a question. So I'll hand you over.
Hola, George.
¿Qué más, hermanito? Bien.
Hola. Encantado de finalmente podernos hablar, compadre.
Claro que sí. Pero bueno, hablemos en inglés para el grupo, pues.
Sí, seguro.
So I appreciate and deeply respect, you know, this side of the rush of the now, right? What's happening now? What's happening in your moment of delivering the poem and saying what needs to be said, what you're on fire with at that particular moment, yeah? For me, very important. But then there's this other bit where I look at it from the perspective of, because I'm a theater director also, and I'm a musician also. So we know about that moment, you know what I mean? We know about that connection. So there's the initial rush and the initial connection, but then there's this like phase of development, right? Once you're there and you're in, how do you develop it to give it that shape in the moment? Because, you know, we look for connection with who's listening to us, with the moment in time, with all of these other things. but there's this thing, you know, and like I
Hold on,
feel.
George. My mother is calling. Hold on. Mami. Mami, pues estoy ahora mismo en una sesión de preguntas y respuestas con los amigos de Europa, que hoy es mi lectura. Sí. Okay. Bueno, espérate, hold on. Saluda a mi madre, George.
Saludes, saludes, señora.
Desde
Y
Colombia.
feliz, aunque está tarde, feliz Día a las Madres.
Ya viste, bueno, mami, te llamo ahorita. Okay, my mom says hi to all.
So anyway, so I was talking about this that's reality. That's the now. So I was talking about the once you're in, how you begin to develop it and take it where you want to go. Like in a certain way, I feel like as I'm listening to you, what's happening is you're in a way defining you and defining me as you speak. As you ask me for things, as you wonder about things, as you look at me to see if I'm as disgusted by certain things as you are, to you know, are we sharing or are we not sharing? Or sometimes you're asking me, do I get it? Do I understand? Sometimes you're asking me, am I your brother? You know, sometimes, and so it seems to me that bit about who we both are in relation to each other has a lot to do with how you develop your texts. I don't know. Is that true? Does that make sense?
It does make a lot of sense, and I'll tell you why. To me, the poem is about becoming whole, but I cannot become whole without the other. To me, the other is crucial to my development. So even though I said earlier, I am like my first audience, or I am, you know, my first recipient, I don't see a distance between me and the other in that sense. And so if I can somehow manage to create such correspondence so as to have the other feel as I do, then that's a success. You know, that's a successful experience for me as a poet. Also, I yearn to be loved. I yearn to be loved. I pain when I lose someone to arguments, to dispute, to, you know, desidia, or so in that sense, I am quite frail and quite insecure. However, for me, as I thrive in the moment, perhaps the most important thing is to not, you know, rationalize the process at all. It truly becomes instinctual, and that's why. And your instincts don't always, you know, work out the same way. So that's how versions develop. And plus you don't always bring, you know, the same personal situation into a particular read. And so I do believe, I am a philologist, you know, I'm a trained philologist. I have a doctorate degree from the University of Havana. I'm a linguist, so I am not untrained. So this is not, you know, my work is not something that just pops out of, you know, an empirical. Earlier on it did. This is why I say I'm a Puerto Rican poet, but a Cuban writer, because I was formed in Cuba. However, all this to say that I do put a lot of thought into developing lo que yo llamo la maqueta, right? How would you say that in English, George? Help me out here.
You would say the model.
The model. Right. What I would call the model, which is, you know, the written text, right? And what I do is I go over it and I tell me it, because it does not exist outside of the spoken word. I absolutely believe this. And so I keep searching and searching and searching. Sometimes this becomes obsessive, compulsive, even pathological, one would argue. But ultimately, it allows me to retain a sense, not of accomplishment, but of growth, of personal growth. You know, I do not want to be the same person after I write. You know, this is why I don't write so often. You know, I am not a prolific writer, even though I could be. I could perhaps write daily if I cared to. And most would say, you know, these are poems. These are, you know, la factura. Their fabric is well, you know, weaved or what may have you. But I don't, because for me, it has to do. You know, if I do not invest all of what I am into the thing that I am doing, then it's not worth it. So to answer your question, my process is casuistic. It, as I was telling Steve, I don't believe two poems of mine are alike. Perhaps, you know, watching from the outside, to some people it may seem so. That they're similar, or that my intensity, you know, carries in a particularly, you know, way, which, you know, goes from one to another. But in my heart, at least, they are completely separate things. This is why I cannot say one poem and then say another, and then say another, and then say another. So grateful to Dom and Krister, you know, that they cleaned the slate for me so that I could come on anew. Because each moment in it, it's to me, you know, a unique attempt at rediscovering my reality.
One little comment.
And the other.
One little comment before I received.
Well, I want to tell you. I want to tell you a poem before you go. I have a poem for Colombia. I want to tell you.
Okay. But I just want to say that what I find, let's put it another way. There's something about being un poeta cubano, un poeta puertorriqueño, un poeta colombiano, un poeta peruano, un poeta. There's something about being a poet from our part of the world that somehow ties us to how our culture works.
Right.
And one of the things about how our culture works is that company, the presence of the other, is really important.
Yes.
One of the most common things that people say to each other in Colombia is, "Ve, acompáñame allí a hacer alguna vuelta." In other words, come with me. Let's go to the store. Let's go somewhere else. And in other cultures, you don't see that, but we need to be together. Right. For us, it's really, really important to keep each other company. And what's beautiful to me about your work is that there's a very strong focus on that aspect, that the others stay here with me. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Let's see what's happening here.
I am never happier, George, than when I am with the people that I care for. I am never happier. This is why I do the concerts that I do. You know, I gather artists from all walks and all manifestations, you know, all disciplines, you know, musicians, stage artists, painters, sculptors, and I bring them all together. And I am never at my happiest as when the focus is not on me, but on the other. You know, I am truly, you know, I truly care for the other's expression, and I try to make it my own. Especially if they work, you know, the areas of the arts that I am not, you know, keen on, or you know, I am not a musician. I envy you infinitely, you know. So but I try to live vicariously through the works of my friends as well. And when we gather to do these Raptum Vitae concerts, the greatest thrill for me is that I somehow feel that I am them too. You know, I am them. I am as good as that guitar player. I am also that guy painting that face. We are all the very same, and it's all the one thing, right?
La comunión.
La comunión, exacto, la comunión de las almas, la comunión de las sensibilidades. Es así.
Bueno, abrazo.
So listen to the poem.
I will, I promise.
This is for Colombia.
Okay.
Hold on. Wait, let me get this stuff fixed better. Can you guys see me and hear me? Okay, so George, para Colombia. Arderán, arderán. Los malditos de la espada no hallarán reposo. No hallarán reposo. Y en la ciénaga desconcertante que su ímpetu sombrío ha cuajado para despojarme de lo que es mío, de lo que es nuestro. Esta tierra gentil, prometida, amada, a la que tenemos más derecho que un árbol, les arrancaremos la dolorosa piel a jirones de luces sobre las crueles cruces que pueblan la madrugada del primer día de la paz. That was that.
Abrazos, hermano. Muchas gracias. Muy bonito.
Que viva Colombia, libre y soberana y sin canallas.
Así es. Así es.
Así es. So thank you, George. Lovely, lovely to meet you. We got to get together. I'm dying to go there. Well, I'm living to go there. And I will. And I'll call you when I do. Hello.
Por acá la orden.
Gracias, hermano. Igual acá. Hello.
Peter, would you like to unmute?
Hello, young girl.
I'm not a young girl, but thank you very much. Yeah, I'm really fascinated by your process. And I feel, what you said to George about, envying him being a musician. But like, to me, the only other times I've really experienced that sense of it doesn't matter so much what the words are actually saying is by listening to music, to languages. And the way that you perform your work has that same quality. It has the same quality of listening to a song, of listening to a piece of music where I wanted to understand, I wanted to know the words, but I felt it, and I think that's really powerful. I was going to ask you about the shirt thing. You've already explained that. And the other thing I was going to ask you was, do you actually always write text first and then, then create the performance or allow the performance to move through you? Or do you at times just stand and allow it to come? Which way around does it go? Do you allow the stuff to come out and then transcribe it and then create a performance? Or do you write and then, do you know what I mean?
Yes, of course. It's a good question. I understand the question. It's a good one. I understand it.
I'm a storyteller primarily, and I work a lot with the stories of Ireland, the ancient mythological stories, and there's so much in them. But like, yes, we have written versions, but originally they weren't written. They were all oral. They were oral for thousands of years before they were written down.
Right.
And in the telling, you can either faithfully retell as you have learned it, or it's a little bit different every time, like you're saying. So that really interests me from the storytelling point of view. So all of that, thank you.
Well, embellishment is I think is kind of inherent, to artists. We, even minimalists, embellish in their own fashion, right? So I think that a different take on a familiar theme is always refreshing and interesting in and of itself, right? As with regards to my own process, sometimes there are poems, usually brief ones, perhaps like the one I just told George. That poem came to me with a bang, you know, and it was done, right? I could not add to it. Well, it's still a fragment of a 20-piece, you know, 20 part piece, but in and of itself, it was done, you know, just instantly. You know, it came to me, I wrote it down, it was done. I've tried to revisit it unsuccessfully, because truly, what can you add to certain, you know, to certain motives? You know, it's been said, it's just been said. However, there are other pieces like the original Rage, which I wrote in Havana after having breakfast with the Puerto Rican actor Benicio del Toro and Steven Soderbergh. They were visiting, and we had, you know, we had a lovely breakfast, and Katrina was going on, and we started talking about that, and then I started writing that poem. But I've worked on that poem, you know, through the years. And then another poem of mine, Trompo, which is a separate text, then got blended into this pandemic rage thing that Dom was so graceful and kind to publish through his platform, right? So to me, again, as I told Steve, there is not a set way, you know, but there is a kind of unease within me that just lets me know rather explicitly that I've not yet said what I must with regards a particular theme or within a particular text. And what I do is I just, you know, I may put down these images which I know are you know, are not quite there, which I know, you know, need revision. I just know it, you know, it's, this is lacking, but it's the best I can do at the moment. So I let it rest.
Okay.
And as and then I am an obsessive compulsive individual. So then it will just, you know, drive through me and drive through me and drive through me. And suddenly there's a comma, you know, there's a pause that changes the whole feel of the thing. And then perhaps, you know, I was screaming before, and suddenly I realized, why are you screaming? This is not a scream, you know, this is more of a whisper rather, you know, this is a silent scream, say. And so all of these things are matters which are, you know, quite untangible, you know, they're not things that you can, you know, put your finger on quite clearly or dilucidar, help me, George, as, you know, as perhaps, you know, as, let me just try to make sense of this. O sea, you know, try and present it to the world as a fixed idea, because it is not, you know. And I think musicians do understand this because of this, you know, this crazy thing called inspiration, you know, this unfathomable, unknowable thing that basically just pushes you in a direction, and then you're just trying to be a vessel for whatever's coming through you. And
that's exactly what I felt in Ireland, in Irish, you know, say ancient practice, pagan practice, connecting with the land. There's a word called imbos. Imbos is the inflowing of the inspiration. It's like the awen in the Welsh. And I really felt that. So I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I really felt that, you know, from what you were doing.
Thank you. Thank you. That's lovely. I appreciate you, Deirdre. Let's stay in touch, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you kindly and truly. So I guess that's it. Anybody?
Okay, I was just checking, was there anybody else in Zoom land waving their hands or anything? I do have somebody in the room who...
Okay.
Steve? Okay, Steve Wexford.
I'm not going to really ask a question. I've got diabetes, so I've got to check out here pretty quickly and take care of myself. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for your poetry and your presentation, your performance, and also for this question and answer. It's been fascinating. It's funny because Deidre and I I've sort of looked at what she does, and sometimes she just says, "This is not a poem," and then she just creates something. It's right out of her head, and I have to like rewrite something about 900 times until it's right, you know. But the end result is maybe not always that different. But there's so many things that you said in this question and answer have just resonated with me, and I just appreciate your work and appreciate you as a human being. And thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We do have somebody in the room who would like to make a short contribution, who's been listening avidly to the question and answer session and has a very short poem that he would like to contribute now.
By all means.
Yeah, lovely, very stimulating, a very stimulating evening. This seems so relevant to what you were talking about, this improvisational aspect to, you know, what goes through you. There's a wonderful piece of music. I've heard it, I think, 2 or 3 times by chance on radio. And don't go to a concert expecting to hear it. I think he's passed away in the meantime. But the pianist is Bill Evans. And there's an incredible, well, I won't, when you hear it, you'll know what I mean. I'm not trying to describe the music, but I heard him talking about it. And it touches very much on what you've just been saying. So I've called it Solo Piano Bill Evans.
Lovely.
Then there's that Bill Evans one. No piano solo, integrated or not, it is all of a piece, not a piece of a piece. He will never play it live. It would kill it. A recording session was done simply. There was time on the clock. He didn't know the tapes happened to be still running. It came out of nowhere. He dare not play it live.
That was lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was fantastic.